RodneyStreet. Are you ready for another STEAM lesson? Today we're going to be making marionettes. What's a marionette? It is an ancient and universal form of performing art. In an engineering perspective, the marionette is a string or wire-driven, multi-limbed, actuated mechanism under gravity influence that exhibits dynamic behavior. Oh my, what a mouthful. So let's break that down into something we can understand better. So a marionette is wire or string driven. Here's some strings. And it is multi-limbed. So that means it has many parts to it. See all these limbs, legs, and arms? It is an actuated mechanism. An actuated mechanism, well, actuated, means something that takes control and moves something else, this system right here. So we have this little guy, our puppet, and he is being moved by my hand. My hand is an actuator, and this puppet is the mechanism. So it's hand moved. Now, the next part is that it's gravity influenced. Gravity takes the part because of the weight that's here that pulls these strings and limbs downward. So because of that, he is able to stay in one place and stay up, and gravity holds him like this. Now, it's exhibiting dynamic behaviors. A dynamic behavior is something that uses force, momentum, and energy. So when I move my hand up here, my actuator, and I move my marionette, I am creating a force that makes velocity. Is that right? My chemical engineering husband said that's right. So, I'm creating velocity, and because I'm moving him and gravity is pulling him back to normal, we're creating momentum together. And because of this momentum, we have made energy. That is why a marionette shows dynamic behaviors. Wow, let's get on to how to make one of these. You're going to need some supplies today that might not all be the same as everybody else. I just want you to look around your home and try to find things. So first, let's start with the feet of the puppet. They need to have weight, and they need to weigh more than whatever string you're using. It could be rocks from your backyard. It could be egg carton, little circle cups cut out. It could be just kind of crumpled up paper taped to the end. All it has to do is weigh more than this, and it helps if they're all the same, because then the feet of it can all rest at the same height. After you find that, you're gonna want to find some toilet paper rolls. Now, if you don't have that, maybe you could cut from a box, take that cardboard cutting and roll it into a circle. The part for the head is a half of a roll, and the body is one roll. So if you're making it by yourself without having the rolls, just make sure the head part is smaller than the body. You're going to need paper for the face, and I used markers. Now, I also used paint on the body. If you don't have paint, you can use other materials like markers. You're going to need string. And let's talk about the top part. This is the control of our system, our little puppet. I used 2 combs that I found. You could use 2 sticks or 2 pencils, 2 markers, really anything that can cross together and hold. So go ahead and find all those materials and meet me back here, and we'll start assembling our marionette. Let's start by drawing the fox's face. You're going to want to trace a paper towel roll so that we make it big enough. I'm going to do it all in pencil so that you don't see the circle later. Now we're going to sketch his face by giving him some ears. I'm going to erase the inside circle. that you would like, but I just chose to do a fox. You're going to want to make a face, and then we'll work on the body. And as we create this marionette, I want you to feel free to substitute any materials, to be able to use things that you already have at home. Now we're going to cut out the head and attach it to the end of one of these, except I also want you to cut one of these toilet paper rolls in half because the head doesn't need to be as long. So here's a little short version of it. So the way I'm going to attach this is I'm going to get some tape. I'm going to turn it over. And I need the tape to touch both the paper and the inside. So I'm going to stuff it down there and press it down to the paper and to the side of the toilet paper roll. So there, it's stuck on, and this is the first part. We're going to have 2 parts total to this guy. So the next step we're gonna do is paint all of the body orange. So go ahead and get your paint stuff ready. If you don't have paint, you could color this with marker, or you could wrap it in construction paper, or you could just leave it blank. It doesn't need to be painted. Now we're gonna let that dry. Go ahead and clean up your brush. Create the 4 limbs that hang below the body. I'm going to use these cups to weigh down the string so that as I move it, there's something keeping it and pulling it back into place. Like when we talked about the gravity, that helps momentum in our puppet. So I have these 4 that will be like the little paws, and then I'm going to use this string to act as the legs and the arms. So I'm going to cut it about as long as I want him to stand, and I'm going to cut 4 of the same size. And you can do that just by going back and forth with your string like this and cutting the loops like this. Now in order to get these to hang from the top of these, I could tape it or glue it, but I could also poke a hole in the top. So now you want to find a way to attach a string representing the arms or legs to the feet or hands for each part of the animal you're making. So like I said earlier, you could tape it to a rock, you could glue it to a rock, you could use egg cartons, the little ends of them, bottle caps, anything that has a little bit more weight than the string so that it hangs it down. Now this should be dry pretty soon, and you're going to want to poke 4 holes in the bottom so that every single limb can connect into it. And that's what I'm going to do next. Please ask your parent to help you to poke holes. I'm using a nail like this, and I'm making sure that my fingers are not near it, but I'm pulling it tight and poking through. And this is what your parent should do, not you. If you are alone and you can't have access to a parent, you can maybe take a pen and push it through, or you can just tape it to the bottom. So once I've done this, I'm going to lace in each string and tie it on the inside. Another way to end these so they don't get pulled through is to take a piece of tape and fold it around the ends so that they're nice and thick. So now I want to attach this head here to the body. I'm going to do that by poking 2 holes here. Now you don't have to use a nail like me, like I've said. You can also hole punch it, or you can add, you can tape a string from one side to the other. But that's essentially what we're doing. We're taking a little piece of string here and attaching these two parts. That way the head can wobble separate from the body, and it will add a more dynamic movement. And now I'm going to want to do the same thing on the bottom. Now we're going to want to add two strings, one at the back and one at the front, that are going to come all the way up to our hand and how we move them. So I'm going to cut two strings that are going to be the same size. Now you're going to want to create the top part where you attach the strings and control the puppet. I found two combs to do this. You could use two sticks, two markers, two pencils, whatever you can find that can just cross each other. If you need to use tape or string to hold them in place, do that. I'm going to use some string and show you a way. So basically you cross over them one direction, twist, and go the other direction so that you're covering them both equally. And I'm just going to tie it off so it stays secure. Then I will attach my little box to the top so I can control it. So I want the head to be at the front of the comb, like this, and the back to be at the back, and kind of keep them as equal as you can. And I'm going to tie a couple knots in the end so that it pulls all the way through and keeps it in the comb. If you participated in today's lesson, I would love to see what kind of animal puppet you came up with. Go ahead and email me a picture at indiana@rstta.org, or post a photo online at #RodneyStreetSteam.